So welcome everybody. We're going to get started now. Today is Tuesday, May 23rd. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. First things that we can just do in attendance as we get started here. And I guess want to do like paper, rock, paper, scissors.
I like having Maddie there. Michael Aronson. Here. Robert Bowker. Here. Diana Aaron. Here. Carla Elliott. Here. Eric Talbot.
Here.
Brenda Burbank. Here. Phil Moran.
Here.
And Chair Roy.
All right, and so just as part of that roll call, we do have a new alternate here. I just wanted to welcome today Phil Moran, who's going to be filling in the seat of the alternate seat that was vacated by Carla Elliott when she was elevated to the board. So welcome, Phil. Okay, so I'm going to start off, I guess, with the approval of the minutes. I don't have a copy of both last minutes here, but I know we have a quorum here, so we have a motion to approve the minutes.
Michael Aronson, motion to approve the minutes from from the April 25th meeting.
Bobby Bowker, second the motion.
And we'll do a roll call, and I think that I'm just trying to make sure we had anybody absent that day, but it only is about who's not here, so we can do a roll call.
Okay. Michael Aronson. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Diana Aaron. Aye. Carla Elliott. Aye. Eric Talbot.
Aye.
Brenda Burbank. Aye. Phil Moran. And Chair.
Phil was not, yeah, Phil was
Yeah,
not
yeah,
at the
vote.
last meeting,
Okay.
so.
And Chair Roy.
Very good. All right. So with that, we can kind of get right into our agenda. So sorry, I should be using like side-by-side agendas on my screen here. So the first item up tonight is going to be Planning Board 13/2021. And this is Water Street. So they're coming in. This is an extension request. So I don't know if maybe Valerie, you can just kind of give us the overview of what's being asked tonight.
Yeah, so they're just, the applicant's asking for an extension on the, of the subdivision approval. So this is something that's routine, that's typically undertaken. They are moving forward with their, trying to get a building permit. They are still working with Con Edison, dealing with the cleanup of the site. So that's where we are. And that's part of the reason why they haven't moved forward yet.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Is the applicant online? I see a hand up.
And they need health department approval as well.
Okay, so that's a pending item.
Yeah. Chris, you're on if you want to speak. And Jim.
Right.
And Sharon.
A cohort, a group being brought in. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so thank you for that update, Valerie. Yes, since we were last before you in December for our land use approvals, we've been continuing our negotiations with Con Ed, and we've passed a big hurdle by the end of the day today or tomorrow morning, which is submitting the brownfield cleanup application into the New York State DEC, which is a big hurdle and a big step, and it's taken a long time to get here. So we're pretty happy about that. We've televised the line the sewer line that was asked of us, and we sent the video and report to village staff, and we're waiting to have a conversation with them about that. We have advanced the draft final plat, so we'll be sending that to Linda for review, and we will continue to work with Linda on the coordination of the easements needed. So we've made a lot of good progress. The 6-month extension is needed just so we can continue to get X's on the sheet, but we're moving forward. We're excited about it. And today was a big hurdle with the brownfield and with the DEC.
Great. Board members, any questions? All right, no questions. I thought maybe I heard something. All right, so there are no questions from the board right now. So with this extension request, we should open a public hearing.
You don't need
Is that
to
not
hold it.
required? Okay. We're here. We can just see if there's anybody here from the public. So can I just have a motion to open the public hearing?
Eric Talbot, I make motion to open the public hearing.
Any objections? No objections, we're in a public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? There's nobody in the room.
There were no notices required.
There were no notices required. Fair enough. Okay. So, and I know there's nobody on Zoom. You can use your hand raise function if you are. I realize this wasn't noticed. This is just we're here. So, all right, just gonna have a motion then to close the public hearing.
Eric Talbot, make the motion to close the public hearing.
Any objections? No objections. All right. All right, I think we've gotten a good explanation where the applicant is. This is a 6-month extension. We know where we are. Is there anything else from the staff level that we should be talking about or asking?
No.
Okay. I think we have a motion from the board to approve the extension.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve the 6-month extension request.
Michael Aronson, second.
And we'll do a roll call.
Okay, and I understand from Land Use Council that in most applications tonight, Phil, you will not be voting because you're only missing one member. Except when there's a recusal. Except when there's a recusal. Michael Aronson. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Naya Aaron. Aye. Carla Elliott. Aye. Eric Talbot.
Aye.
Brenda Burback. Aye. Pierre Roy.
All right, so motion carries. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Looking forward to moving this forward. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Okay, next item on the agenda. Speaking of recusals, I think we actually do have a pair of recusals on this item. It's 136, 140 Croton Avenue. So this is actually going to be another extension for us. So Michael and Eric will step aside for a moment. Okay, so this is another extension, and if Valerie, same thing, we can just kind of get a real quick overview of what we're looking to talk about on this one.
So I think we asked the applicant to maybe come today to talk to the board about where they are with this particular application.
Okay.
So I
That's
believe,
perfect. Is it?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. You're on. You can introduce yourself, please.
Yes, good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Diana Kolab of the firm of Dalbella, Benellen, Weinberg, White, and Whitaker. My firm was recently retained by McQuestion Development and its related entity 136 and 140 Croton Avenue LLC in connection with this senior affordable housing project. As you recall, that site plan approval was granted in May of 2022. And so now we are seeking another 1-year extension of that. Actually, I'm sorry, the first 1-year extension of that. So what we have been diligently pursuing the financing for this project. We have, we've run into some roadblocks, and that is why we've been unable to commence construction during the 1-year period. But there have been no changes to the project or to the project plan, so it's exactly the same as it was previously approved. Last month, we were before the zoning board, and the zoning board did grant the extension of the variances that were required for this project. So I don't have a representative of the of McQuestion Development here tonight, but if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Yeah,
Are the financial roadblocks you think tied to like interest rates and cost of capital currently?
Yeah, so I mean, that's part of it. This would be, since it seems affordable, it has to be on a track with HFA, which is the state agency that and HCR which finance the project. So there is a time frame with that as well as the interest rate. So that's, and I know that there was also some discussions with the village regarding some of the maybe the taxes. So I think that was part of the discussion.
other than the financing, has anything else gotten in the way of moving forward at this point?
No, I mean, that's it. But they're just trying to put it, pull it all together so they can proceed with construction.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, and I just wanted to, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 full board members present. We do have 2 alternates. I was kind of thinking this out loud. We do have 2 refusals. And I would, just a point of, if you're we have 2 alternates here. If you're familiar with this project and familiar with the deliberations that we had leading up to it, I think, I don't know if you have any maybe guidance, Linda, on how we should look at that.
Because this is just an extension,
Mhm.
there's not a concern if the alternates feel comfortable voting, they can
Okay.
do so.
And really the threshold for this extension is that the project hasn't changed, that they're moving forward and that.
There's been no changes.
Yeah.
Typically with an extension, the big question is, Has there been any change in circumstances?
Very good. Okay. So that's fair. So then, so in this case, because of the size of the board, I think both of the, or alternates, say would be eligible to vote. So with that in mind, we have, there are no other comments from the board, a motion from the board to approve the extension.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve and grant the 1-year extension requested.
How did he have second motion?
And a roll call.
Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Diana Aaron. Aye. Carla Elia. Aye. Brenda Burback. Aye. Phil Maria. Chair Roy.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Diane.
All right. Okay, so we remember. And we move on to item C on the agenda. This is 142, 144 South Highland. This is a new application. This is Planning Board 11/2023 and BAR 09/2023. And this is a application for site plan and BAR approvals for a commercial business. So I think we can welcome the applicant in. If you can introduce yourself and let us know about your plan.
Okay, good evening. I am counsel for the Popeyes application. My name is Clifford Davis, 200 Mamaroneck Avenue, Suite 601, White Plains, New York, 10601. The application is to construct Popeyes drive-through restaurant located at 144 South Highland Avenue in the village of Ossining. It's located in the GB General Business Zoning District. It's a permitted use as a restaurant. As set forth in the zoning work table that we provided to the village, we comply with all zoning, all bulk regulations, all parking requirements. The building will be 1,990.50 square feet. The property is approximately 0.36 acres. We're going to greatly improve the appearance of the site, and it will feel more open as it will only be 1 story, and all the setbacks are greatly increased from what presently exists there right now. The existing building will be demolished. Under the village code for hours of operation of the drive-through, the code limits it from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the code says unless otherwise negotiated by the planning board during site plan approval. So I guess we're here to negotiate with you people. What Popeyes standard hours that we seek are Sunday to Thursday, 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. To put that in perspective, the nearby McDonald's, and I understand that the McDonald's will be before you tonight for a 3rd drive-through. And we understand that their drive-through operates Sunday to Monday from 6 a.m. to midnight. So you're a lot less than that. And our hours of operation for the drive-through from Sunday to Thursday would be an hour and a half less per day than under the code. And for Friday and Saturday, it would be 1 hour less than under the code. So we're here before the boards, the planning board and the Board of Architecture review for site plan and approval from the bar. We submitted a short form, secret form. This is a type 2 action because it's less than 4,000 square feet. So there's no secret requirement. We need the village to make referral under the General Municipal Law 239 L and M. So I'm hoping, I don't know if that's been done yet, or has that been sent out?
No, I was gonna send it out.
Okay, so that's gonna hold us up. And what we would like, if at all possible, I'm not sure if it's the right procedure. If we show everything and it's a relatively straightforward application, that we would receive an approval subject to addressing all of the comments set forth from Nelson Pope and Keller Sessions. With me here tonight is Anthony Stankinelli, a New York State licensed engineer. And he's going to walk through the plan and we'll answer anything that you have. I guess tonight is a public hearing. So probably procedurally, if we could open up the public hearing and then Sort of back, so I don't have to repeat myself, include it as if the public hearing had been opened up and
Your
whatever.
presentation is part of the record. It doesn't
Okay.
need to be part of the second public
Fine.
hearing.
So I think before we go forward, we would ask that you make an application, to open up the public hearing, and then my engineer will do the presentation.
Yeah, typically what we would
Oh.
do, just procedurally, we'll have your presentation. This is all recorded in part of the public
Okay.
record, and we'll open up the public hearing when it's time to receive commentary from the public.
Not a problem. Okay.
And then I guess, so if drawings are gonna be presented right now, I just wanted just a point of kind of procedure and presentation, because we are in a hybrid mode. And it's fine if the drawings that are here are the drawings that were presented to the, online ahead of time. But we would like to have, our team will control the screen and put these drawings up on the monitor so that the public viewing from home has a clear view of what we're talking about. So, with that, yeah.
Chairman, members of the board. My name is Anthony Stankinelli. I work for Nisus Engineering, located at 1601 Veterans Memorial Highway, Islandia, New York. I'm here today to represent Popeyes in Ossining. We prepared the civil engineering plans for the project. And I just want to state that the exhibit that we brought tonight is just a pretty picture of the site plan that is up there.
Okay.
So no changes. It's just the bushes are colored and there's an aerial behind it.
Okay.
All right, so as you probably already know, this site, there's an existing hair salon, jewelry repair, nail salon. It has a second floor. This doesn't comply with many of the bulk setbacks and regulations. So we feel that the proposed Popeyes greatly improves the site, meeting all town code and bulk requirements. The proposed site proposes 12 seats, 2-lane drive-through with 2 order boards, 8 parking stalls, and 11 queuing spaces. All right, we have great circulation coming into the site. One way in to get to the drive-through. If you want to eat, you have 8 spaces to park, eat, and then come right out of that same entrance. You're going through the drive-through, you have 2 lanes, 11 queuing spaces, 2 ordering points, and a pickup window. And then one way out. Today, a lot of these fast food restaurants are doing a lot less seats. They're seeing more general, just, coming through the drive-through and pickups. It's not shown on here, but you can see that overhang where the drive-through window is, where you pick up your food. There's actually a space in front of that. You can see how long the overhang is. There's actually a space in front of that for anybody just picking up, like a mobile order, so they can come and pull up. They'll tell them to pull up, get their food. They can come. We're providing brand new landscaping, regrading the site, proposing new retaining walls, landscaping, new lighting, new sewer connection with the grease trap. We understand that we need health department approval. We're also going to need New York State DOT approval. There has been some comments from the consulting engineers that we reviewed. We're confident we could address every comment. There was nothing major that we saw. Some of the comments referred to the curb cuts on the site. We were trying to save the existing curb cuts because I'm sure you all know how long and difficult it is to go through the DOT process. So that was our intent with the drive-throughs, but it's really in their hands. When we submit to them, they're going to tell us, sidewalks cracked, your curb cut, we want smaller or larger. So we're going to be subject to the DOT. That submission, I believe, went in last week. So we're going to wait to hear back their feedback. And we'll also take into consideration the comments from the consulting engineers about, I believe it was on the north entrance here. Existing is a retaining wall on the neighbor's property. There's about a foot or 2 foot gap from that retaining wall into the drive aisle. We left it alone. That's what exists today. We didn't want to start changing the curb cuts. But again, it's all going to be subject to the DOT's. What they want to do. New drainage system, you know. With improvements, we're proposing a jellyfish water treatment unit. So the water's gonna, all the sediments and any contamination is gonna be filtered before entering into the positive drainage system that is on site. I just want to add, because one of the comments about that drainage system, that it was in an easement. The easement is the sewer main that runs through the site. The ordering boards are outside that easement line. This is an exhibit, but if you go through the site plans that were submitted, there's a light. You see it better on the screen. If you zoom in really close. Yeah, you see the sewer line there in the back of the store, going right through the middle of the two ordering boards. Right, so there's a 10-foot sewer easement, on each side, 5 foot on each side of that sewer line. So one of the comments said that we had, I guess the ordering board, sorry, excuse me for coming up here, but the ordering board was in the easement. It's actually just an overhang. So.
Yeah, we were just like, yeah, I was also concerned with the pipe too. I didn't know where those foundations are lining up.
Yep.
Yeah.
The drainage pipe,
Yeah.
not an easement, but there is a footing for the ordering board above it, but the drainage pipe is 10 feet below. And the footings are not as large.
Yeah, that was my question.
Uh,
The thing about the easement was because it's public drainage, it's not in an easement, but I got confused because the label said the sanitary and
Yeah.
stormwater easement.
So we met the village DPW out there on site. They didn't even know some of this existed. We went there, we inspected it, we talked to them, and we came up with the plans. That's really it, but I'm here. I could go address comment by comment if you like from the consulting engineers, but we're confident we could address them. Get the revised plans back to the town. Keep everything happy.
I think it'd be helpful for us also, I mean, we can kind of look at all of the different components of this project before we deliberate. So are you gonna be presenting the BAR component, or is there another consultant who's gonna be showing us the outside of the building?
So some of the comments was, so we do have the architectural elevations that were submitted. Actually, yeah, there you go. You have it.
Yeah.
Basically, that's, I mean, what they did and what we asked to do to show a little more detail, call out all the different colors, call out the material types. We only got the comments yesterday. The architect did it today.
Okay.
We actually emailed it over to planning at 4 o'clock today, so it probably didn't make it, but it was electronically submitted today.
Okay. So I think it would be helpful just to get to guide our conversation. I know that there were memos issued both by Valerie and Tony. Just that, a couple of the main points, main issues that we should be focusing in on. Maybe I'll start Valerie, just because I think that's kind of bigger picture, and then Tony.
Sure. So just a couple things. We already mentioned the county referral. We'll be undertaking that this month. VAR, we noted that the materials listing and colors were missing from the application, so the applicant said they submitted that, so that should be taken care of for the following month. The New York State DOT, the applicant already noted that. And just a couple other things, the lighting, we noted that there was some encroachment, so I'm sure you'll adjust the lighting, and so if you can send that back next month. And then the signs, this was something that probably needs to talk to the building inspector about. We spoke with him and we noted that we were raising this issue, so speak to him and then you can figure out exactly what's needed in terms of signs. And if ultimately Popeyes wants to keep all those signs there and they don't meet the code, you might need a variance. So we're just raising that. And then a couple other things just dealing with the landscaping and lighting, as well as parking and loading. There's just some requirements in terms of drive-through facilities. So just, if you wouldn't mind just responding to those and just making sure that you meet those and conform to those standards.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Valerie. Tony?
Yeah, and you touched on some of our points, the health department. The one thing I noted was in the code, it does talk about a driveway can't be 2 feet from the proper neighboring property boundaries. So that was something to look at. The other comments are just a little more detailed. The plans are pretty good shape, but like, there's a big stormwater run, there's a lot of crossing. I like to see that in the profile, so I can see all the separations. Absolutely. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff was just more information added to the plan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Maybe we could put the site plan back up there and be helpful as we just gonna talk a little bit.
Can you also see an image of what's currently exists on the site right now?
Yeah,
Photos.
yeah, that's a good idea. So there's no real aerial, right? But it kind of gives you a good sense.
Is it just like one picture that has the whole mass? Or just each percent?
That's kind of, yeah, it's kind of, cool.
Where's that, sorry, just go to that one photo below this one. Where's that?
I believe that's the rear, right?
Yeah, it's the parking.
What is exactly behind, what
Yeah,
property is right behind there?
There is about 100 feet of trees and woods. There's a drive-through to a residential home about 100 feet away from the property line.
The Google Maps have a nice aerial that you can see the buffering.
Okay, so that's something we can maybe pull up here. I think it'd be helpful to have that.
So on top of the existing buffer on the residential piece, we are adding 2 rows staggered evergreens because we knew it was residence. We're also keeping the required buffer 15 feet landscaping.
Is that, so, right, so the landscaping, the trees that we're seeing there are on
The residential property.
residential properties, they're
Right.
not on this property.
And these green ones are the proposed evergreens in a 15-foot buffer
Okay,
staggered.
what kind of plantings are you proposing to use for that screening?
I believe they were like Leland cypresses and green giants. I can take a look.
Are they all the same species?
Like a hedge, nice hedge, nice big hedge screening wall.
So you can see there's the,
Are you planning to maintain those then as a hedge, or are you gonna let them just grow?
That's a good question. If the town would like a certain way, we could condition it. I don't really think,
Just they get very tall.
they do get very tall, yeah. I think that it's the property owner behind them might want it really tall.
Depending on the shading.
Well, they already have all the trees there, almost 100 feet on their property already.
They look like they're just.
Mature.
Yeah, but they look deciduous, don't they?
They do look citrus. Right?
Yeah. So in the
There's
winter,
some pines and evergreens in there. You can tell from the picture, but yeah, a lot of them are deciduous.
What's the proposed setback from the street with the actual structure?
To the in the back.
No, from the front, from
front.
South Highland and.
29.2 feet to the overhang.
Okay.
And 31.5 feet to the main building.
Okay, so the setback.
Yeah, but like we meet all the zoning setbacks requirements. I mean, we strive to try to have an as of right plan.
this, I mean, I don't think this is on the site plan that we're looking at, but this green landscaping that's in front. Can you talk about that? What is there outdoor seating? What is that sort of? I don't know
So
if it's on
it's,
the.
this is just a pretty picture, but this matches the landscape plan. And the landscape plan calls out all the different shrubs and grass areas. That's probably a better, more thorough and accurate plan to look at. This is just,
So it's sort of a plaza or with
no,
some plantings or?
just, there's the sign,
Oh,
my sign.
Right.
So we did couple of low lining shrubs around it, and it's just a grass area. It's
Oh, that's
some nice
grass.
shrubs.
It's
Yeah,
grass, it's
yeah.
not a plaza. Okay.
no,
Um,
everything's called out on the landscape.
I see. Okay, I wasn't sure.
That sign is not shown on any of the building elevations.
No, the building elevations only show the building signs. But there is a signage table on our site plan for the ID sign. And it shows all the compliance, the code. Setbacks, the height, the
And
areas.
that's, but it sounds like this, so the signage, I mean, we can kind of talk about that right now, because I know we're mixing DAR and site plan, but they're interconnected. It sounds like that's being looked at by Joe in terms
right,
of.
so that sign Joe already looked at.
Okay,
it's the actual wall. facade.
Right. right. And we just talked, so right now you're allowed to have one sign, what does the code say? Just so we can have that in our, as part of our conversation.
Let's see if I can pull that up.
And that's that elevation that we're looking at right now, that's the Route 9 facing facade.
So there is signs for commercial use, wall mounted signs is the section that Joe needs to review.
Okay.
And it specifically says the sign shall be affixed to the principal facade of the building. There shall not be more than one sign for each tenant in the building on the principal facade. And for corner lots, corner stores and shopping centers or freestanding buildings, a sign for each tenant may be placed on the two facades. And then there's other requirements dealing with the amount of a sign, you know, how large the sign can be. So that's where the question is whether I'm not gonna call them signs, whether all the emblems are technically signs and whether they all would then count as multiple signs for one.
Got it. We actually just scroll down a little bit too, so we can just look at both of these. And then, so right now you're looking north, right? That's the south wall. Sorry, the south wall. The drive, right, which is on the south wall there. So that's what you see when you're heading north on Route 9, and then that's the rear, right? So that's
And the bigger issue is like the definition of sign too, because the definition of sign also kind of notes that it doesn't have to be, you know, the actual name, but it also could be an announcement, advertisement, and it can be symbolism. So that's where Joe needs to interpret.
right.
it.
But that's for Joe to interpret, right? That's not at issue with this board right now.
And we'll talk to Joe and we'll figure out, are we allowed one, are we allowed two? Another question is, could we have a separate sign application so that when you, with the rest of the project?
Right, I mean, from this board's purview, that, that's meaningful from the VAR perspective, right? Because that's integral to the facade, is, I think from what we're looking at. I think the other piece that I want to just get, I know it was talked about, I think, Tony, you talked about it, but I just want to be clear that, there's a required driveway setback. I mean, it seems to me like we need a clear interpretation of whether or not the zoning board opinion will be required for the existing, for the drive, for the revamped drive. I know it's existing condition, but or it may or may not be existing condition. I don't even.
Well, I think was it the northern side, the southern side is not, I think that's a new entrance, correct?
No,
If I got
they're all
that,
existing.
that's existing to
Yeah,
the.
we weren't touching the, we were using all the existing curb cuts. The one to the, I believe it's more towards the south one right there. It's actually a shared drive with the neighbor.
Okay, yeah, I see the asphalt driveway.
So the DOT may have comments on that,
What's the level of traffic that you're expecting in the day?
So based on ITE trip generations, compared to the existing site is less than 100 trips.
So what's the existing and?
Hold on, I got a nice little graph. All right, so we got weekday AM existing 24. Proposed 102. Weekday PM peak existing 33, proposed 103. Weekend peak existing 35, proposed 110. So the delta is less than 100. So DOT is going to consider that not a significant impact.
Well, I guess I'm just really concerned about, because I'm familiar with the site. I use one of the tenant services, and getting in and out of that site, and if you, unless you want to turn right on Highland, is often very, very difficult. So even if, you know, the projections are that the traffic increases is less than 100 for different times of day and days of the week, I'm trying to envision how a steady stream of traffic is going to come in and out of this site.
More so to get in and out, or if it's
Well,
gonna back up
particularly
on the
getting
site?
out, particularly
Getting out.
getting out if they want to go north. on Highland Avenue.
What's the average amount of time that a drive-through customer spends online? At Popeyes, do we know? Probably like 4 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 ordering points,
Yeah.
and now they have more people, working the drive-through rather than catering to people inside, so I mean,
The
it.
goal is to move them out. as
Move them
quickly
out,
as
as
possible,
yeah, that's why they have the 2 ordering points and the 2 pickup windows in the front, so they can tell one car, move up ahead and take care of 2 people at the same time.
I just know that sometimes I have to sit there for 5 minutes before I
To
get
get
out.
out, because there's traffic, are you saying
Because
because there's
traffic
traffic
comes
is
all the way
inside
from
Highland, yeah.
Jamaica.
Yeah, I don't wanna,
I mean, I don't know if this is DOT's purview.
Yes,
I'm
that-
just, it's a
I don't-
concern
right.
that I have.
yes, DOT is gonna tell us whether they feel if this should be restricted to like write outs only or not.
Yeah.
They're gonna do their own investigation and study, they go to the site and then they come back and give us a whole laundry list. That's typical process.
Well, are they gonna be required to do a traffic study, or are we gonna accept just the traffic report they give? Are you gonna do a full-blown study?
Well, I don't even think, I don't believe we received the traffic report.
No, I'll do that.
Right, so there's no secret process here.
Yeah.
It's a type 2, but you can, under site plan, you can look at traffic issues. If you're concerned from a site
Right.
plan standpoint.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what DOT is gonna ask them for.
The threshold is typically if you're increasing more than 100 trips, then you should do a study.
Right, and one of the things that they're going to be providing us some additional information on in the code. It does talk about adequate queuing of vehicles and stuff like that, so they'll need to probably provide us some of that traffic information to say, you know, if it's gonna take, you know, how many minutes or how many seconds to turn right or left on Route 9. Their queuing of the vehicles based upon their anticipated customer service, you know, whether that site's really out of, we'd be able to also deal with that as well.
And it's not like it's a left turn only, leaving the place, or a right turn only, right? Do we have that defined now?
Right now, no, right now it's open,
Okay.
but DOT is sure enough to give their,
So I'm just trying to think of the evening hours on that road, it's really packed up, and your prime time hour is probably 5:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock. This coincides with it. Which,
yeah, I
you just have to push that one.
I don't want to say it, but I'm confident DOT may restrict us to.
Yeah,
Right,
so
right.
that's my feeling too. I do, and that might
They
help your
always-
issue with the offset of the property line too.
They
So,
always do.
1 in, 1 out.
They always do.
And you can widen it up once you get in there. That's because they don't want 2 people making the same movement out of the site.
Yeah.
Does Acker go all the way through? The spring? It goes through the spring, right, that's right. So if you could only make a right turn, you have to go back.
Yeah.
If you wanted to
Go around.
Yeah.
I think-
That's right, okay. Acker's actually one of the few roads there, right, that actually does go all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay, I think,
I have a question about the parking. So you have how many spots?
8 stalls.
8 stalls. And I know this is probably to the code, but where like employees are parking off-site? Like how many employees are gonna be there
we can talk about
versus
the,
customers?
yeah, the parking calculations.
Absolutely. So the required parkings for town code. So yes, it includes 4 employees.
So 4 employees, so there will only be, how many spots are there, 10?
8.
8, so only 4 spots for guests.
Correct. They don't anticipate, again, they don't anticipate a lot of dine-in customers today. Most of the orders are mobile and pickups. That's why the building is only 1,990 square feet. There's only 12 seats inside the restaurant. That's why they put the 2 ordering points, and we have 11 queuing spaces in the back.
Yeah, I mean, it's right, the code requires, it's based on seats, not based on square footage.
So it's or
Yes.
seats per?
based on seats, plus employees.
I think it's 3 seats per, right?
It is, yep, three seats.
And then if there was ever a change, if the structure was ever repurposed or reused, they'd need to,
Revisit the
revisit the
park.
site plan and the parking.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Do we have any other kind of initial questions right now? Because I think we do, there's a public process here. Also, we haven't talked very much about the VAR. I know this is we talked about the signage, I think which may be the more salient issue.
One thing I think would be beneficial to see is like a rendering or superimpose of what the completed site will look like in the existing space, you know?
Like a three with the building.
Yeah, we can build in, doesn't have to be 3D, just like superimpose like, build it from the street, what it look like compared to what's existing there.
And adjacent properties.
Yeah, adjacent properties, yeah.
Including the properties on both sides. I mean, maybe even the view from Acker, which is a more residential street as you come up, so maybe that view would be a second view to see. We would really talk so much about the impact of the adjacent residential, but this, other than the buffer, which is substantive.
There was a lighting plan on there, so.
Yeah, Valerie, I need to get some comments on the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, there was a slight encroachment on the neighboring properties. They said they were gonna adjust the lighting, but that was one of our concerns.
That's not a problem. We can update this.
I think the other ones, right, there's some really intense brightness, I think close to the building, around the perimeter of the building, I think those are like 10-foot candles.
Well, it's directly underneath the fixture.
Yeah,
That's almost in every situation.
Give the glow.
Can we look at the lighting plan while we're scrolling through here?
It's this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's just level, it's not graphic or anything.
no, they have some details, and I did look, I think they're like sticking with 3,000 Kelvin, I think you had.
Remember a lot of stuff. That one I'm gonna have to look at.
Lighting fixture in the corner there, can you tell me? CRI?
Like serial number and model. We typically always have 3,000 or less. I mean, that's a lot of the towns and villages that we're marketing all over. They don't like the bright blue lights, nobody does. And they are full cutoff, dark sky compliant.
So the lower the Kelvin, the warmer the color?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything above 3,000 tends to get a little blue. None of the town. Yep, 3,000 K.
I think it would be helpful to see that clarified.
Yeah, we could make sure there's no light trespass. This was all different types of, now with the LEDs, there's all different types of shields and everything that we could, it's like razor sharp.
And honestly, that in conjunction with the rendering, I mean, honestly, even like a nighttime rendering of this, and this is, because this will operate a lot at night. That'll be the impact that it has on the community. So that might be helpful to see as well. I realize that's a piece of art, it's not a
Right.
technical document, but
As close as it could,
Yeah.
could be. Yep.
okay, so all of this in mind, any other comments on the BAR? I really, this is other than I think your comment, I think is probably the seeing this in context.
Sure.
So with all the conversations we've had so far, can we maybe have a motion to open up the public hearing here?
Aaron, motion to open public hearing. Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections, we're now in a public hearing. So I'd like to just first open it, if there's anybody in the room who came here to speak to this application. You come on up and come to the microphone, just announce your name, like the president, and then the floor is yours.
Hi. My name is Mary Langen and I live at 133 South Highland, which is directly across from the site. And I've lived there since August of 1998, and there has been nothing but issues with the pulling in and out, making left-hand turns out of either Acker Avenue or my complex, which is directly across from Acker Avenue. And this spot is literally directly across from our complex. And the amount of traffic right now, every person that comes to my house says, we need a traffic light here. This is going to be, I feel, terrible for the neighborhood. I I mean, we had a Kentucky Fried Chicken, but you had to get off of 9A or Route 9 and then into their parking lot. The McDonald's is set back off of Route 9. The Taco Bell that's currently being built right there, that's not directly across from anything except for a shopping center. So I feel that living directly across the street from this is going to be, it's just not gonna work. I don't approve of it at all. And I remember when the Popeyes opened in Yorktown Heights back during COVID, they had such lines for the drive-through that it was literally out of the parking lot and almost onto Route 202. So I see it as a huge novelty. The kids are gonna love it because of the fact that it's close to the high school, it's close to all the schools. People can walk to it, but between the parking and especially if there's 2 drive-throughs, I just see that as a detriment to the neighborhood. So, and I have such strong feelings that I just felt I had to come to the meeting
I'm
tonight.
grateful that you did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So is there anybody else here who would like to speak? Do we have
We have a
anybody
couple
on Zoom? I
hands,
do see
yeah.
a couple of hands. All right. So if you're on Zoom, you're doing the right thing, use the hand raise function. We'll bring you in one at a time. Instructions are the same. Just introduce yourself, your name, place of residence, and then you can speak.
Okay, we're gonna start with John Kay. John, we've brought you over. Can you turn on your camera too, if possible?
I don't think I can, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so if you can't work that, then you can at least introduce yourself and we'll let you speak.
John, you're on mute.
You're on, yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
So yeah, my name is John Kraus. I'm a resident of 129 South Highland Avenue, and I have the same concerns as the previous lady. I think the traffic is going to be bananas, and I don't think that we're giving a lot of thought into people down the hill, and having to make that right turn. I also know that there's only a sidewalk on one side of the road there, so I think that's also an impediment for foot traffic. I just think it's a bad idea. I think to the other lady's point, traffic's going to be bad. I think the 8 parking spots is nowhere near enough to accommodate the amount of traffic that's going to generate. And I think that we're just creating more gridlock. It already takes almost 20 minutes to drive through this town, and it's only like 2.5 miles. So we're just adding more layers of complexity where they don't need to be any. I think it'd probably be a better place for Popeyes to be in the shopping center down the street, or Chillmark, or one of the other shopping centers in the town, but there is a terrible idea.
Thank you, John. All right, can we bring in our next speaker?
Suzanne. If you could turn on your camera if possible and unmute.
Yeah, you're here.
Am I on the, am I not, my camera's not on, is it?
It is not.
I'm so sorry. I don't see the option how to turn it on. I'm also, my name is Suzanne. I'm a resident of Highland Terrace as well. I've been here for 16 years. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have tried making a left out of this complex and almost getting into an accident. We have children, we have elderly people that just try to cross the street, dogs, and people do not stop for you currently, even if you were in the walkway. I don't know if it's ever been considered to put a traffic light at the entrance to Highland Terrace across the street from Acker, but it is highly, highly unsafe to put that restaurant where you guys are proposing to do so. The drive-through line is going to back up onto Highland, and there's going to be blind turns making lefts out of this complex and out of Popeyes. So I just think it's a really bad idea.
Thank you. Okay, and we do have one more or 2 more hands.
Just one more. Tess. If you could at least unmute.
All right, hi Tess. So you're in the meeting. You can introduce yourself if you have the ability to turn on your camera. That would be preferred, and then you can introduce yourself, place of residence, and speak. Tess, can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear Tess right now, so think we can,
All right, Tess, I'm gonna bring you back over and take your hand down. If you rejoin us, feel free to raise your hand back up.
perfect. All right, thank you. Okay, can I have, I think as we can just talk just a moment here. So it sounds like trying to put all this together a little bit from where we are right now. There's a question about a couple of potential variances that would be required. We need to get clarification from staff on those. So we're talking about what the driveway setback, we're talking about the signage. So, those are kind of open items. I think that the feedback that we got, both from board members speaking as well as from the public, shows that there's certainly some concern, some very strong concern about the, not just the driveway exit is specifically in traffic impact in general. So I think having, clarity, whether that's coming from DOT, and I don't know if we need some guys kind of on where, the best way to get that clarity in terms of how we can ensure that anything that comes in here is being done in a safe manner, right? I think that's the takeaway that I'm getting from almost everybody who's speaking. So I think we certainly need more color and understanding of how that's going to work. I think from the DAR perspective, I think that's somewhat more straightforward, though we have clarity on the signage issue. Board members, other things that I'm not picking up on or staff. This is all on top of obviously the lists that's the staff provided and the technical issues that need to be addressed and move on. So that's kind of my takeaway. I think at this point, maybe it would make sense we can adjourn the public hearing. And we start with that.
Bobby Belker making a motion to adjourn public hearing.
Nina Aaron's second motion.
Any objections? No objections. The public hearing is adjourned. So I think we can just also adjourn the agenda item for this evening, and then we'll hear back from you guys when we have that additional information. I didn't mention, but we talked about the renderings of the additional representation. So can I have a motion to adjourn the agenda item?
Michael Aronson motion to adjourn the item.
Maybe a second motion.
All right, any objections? No objections. So that item is adjourned. Thank you guys very much.
Before the
Yeah.
applicant leaves, let's just get clarification on the traffic issue.
Yeah.
So that they can provide the board additional information. So this board is concerned about the queuing and concerned about the amount of traffic, specifically also the left turns onto Route 9. So this way, the applicant can provide either traffic analysis, some information, or maybe some information from the DOT if they hear responses.
Yeah, I'm saying thank you for the clarity. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda now. We're going to do item D on the listed agenda. This is DAR 10-2023 at 43 Ann Street. This is a second story addition of the DAR approval request. So with JB, good evening, and the floor is yours.
Okay. 43 Ann Street is small addition, second floor addition, we're doing a W of the house.
Actually, stop. I'm sorry, Maddie, do you mind if we just put the elevations up while JB is speaking?
Yep,
Sorry. You're a good multitasker.
I'm trying. I'm distracted.
You had it open. So that's the front view of the house, which is now changing. So if you move forward, we just put in a small addition at the rear, above the second floor above the existing kitchen. There is not much room. We obtained variances already, so it's a very straightforward addition. We have the siding. I believe is A6 shows the A5 because of the existing conditions. A6 show the proposed condition. So that's basically what we're doing in the fourth dining room with a little cover entry to protect from the weather. The second floor has a.
Yeah, we can keep going through these plans.
Yep. So that's basically the addition.
So it's that second bedroom that's going over the dining room, plus that little covered,
Yeah.
portico roof. in the back.
How much square footage are you adding, living space?
It's, I believe it's, I mean, 40, I can record it. I can read the,
This says 105 for the
105,
bedroom.
right, plus the stairs. So
Yeah.
140.
Modest.
Yeah.
Can we look at the elevations?
That's the front existing, that's the rear elevation, that's the side elevation. System, that's what we are proposing, keeping the existing. We added the,
So you are changing the siding everywhere.
yes.
Okay.
And we have the,
What are you doing, like 4-inch vinyl siding?
yes, it's orange. Oh, Earl
It
Grey.
says 6
6-inch
inch
Pearl
Pearl
Grey.
Grey.
So that cedar shake siding, that's on portion of the house is, what, I don't know if the cedar shake is the right word, but that, the shingle siding that's there now is all going to go.
At the front, yes.
It's also on the sides then.
Yeah,
They're like,
So that's
that's
not
going
gonna-
on, yeah.
that's
that's
existing.
that's existing.
And I think they believe there are pictures as well at the end. So, if that is. That's the neighborhood, that's the front, and the neighborhood picture, and that's the rear view, what it looks like now.
Got it. So that's, you're kind of taking the top of the existing, the front
Yeah.
volume, you're bringing that straight across, you're having
Right.
that's the pedimented roof that you've got in the back there. Okay. And I think the materials are clearly listed. The roof, you're doing the roofs throughout.
Yes,
I mean, you're practically putting a whole new roof structure on the house, so. Okay, board members, questions?
Know the roof materials? Oh, it's right there. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Questions? I think it's pretty straightforward, it's all there.
Yeah.
So can we have a motion to open a public hearing?
Bobby Tucker making a motion open public hearing.
Brenda Burbach, second motion.
Any objections? No objections, the motion carries. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application?
Yes.
Okay. And so as you come up, you can introduce yourself and your place of residence and you will speak.
Good evening. My name is Nelsa Ogilvy. I reside at 17 Pine Street, Aspen. I'm here because my family has been residing at 17 Ann Street since 1943. And the condition of the neighborhood has deteriorated as our neighbors had died because the existing building had been sold to absentee landlord. So therefore, there is no interest in maintaining the community. I have problems because people park in front of my house, throw garbage in my garden, pee bottles, condoms. The traffic is horrible. And as you can see, I'm disabled and it's very difficult for me to walk. Even when the garbage pickup comes, they throw the garbage containers all over the place. In my condition, I have to walk all over the neighborhood to get my containers. Traffic is horrendous. If a person wants to improve their home because they want better condition in their home, I don't have a problem with that. The thing is that the number of people living in a small area is increasing because there have been rentals. It's not for family, it's for rental. And that is my concern. That the environment of my neighborhood is not improving at this particular time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, I think it's important, and I know there are probably other places too that have to be able to voice those types of concerns. I think one of the things that is important just for the public to understand, when this body looks at a project like this, our review authority is
Narrow.
very narrow. We're looking at the architectural changes. And the work that they're doing is as of right. The alterations that they're making are as of right, or in this case, I believe that there was already a zoning board bulk variance that was or variances that were submitted. But you know, I'm hearing your concerns. I think it's important to reach out to village staff and see other places where you can voice those concerns and see what kind of quality of life issues you know, may be addressed. All right, is there anybody else here who would like to speak? Okay,
We have
is there,
Tess again, so. we're
okay,
gonna give it another
let's-
shot.
we can give Tess another shot. Unless it's,
Hi, can you hear me?
we can.
Oh, finally. I'm sorry, I was actually testing for my next question that will be coming up. I just wanted to make sure I figured it out.
Okay, so you
No
are.
comment on this case, on this proposal, but
yeah.
I will be in touch. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. All right. Got this. All right, so if there's, I don't see any other hands, we don't have anybody else here to speak from the public. I'm going to assume that there was, and that you would have told us if there was anything in writing from the public. So we have a motion to close the public hearing. This application. Eric Salvin, I make the motion to close the public hearing. Bobby Bell, right, sir. And any objections? Objections, motion carries, the public hearing is closed. All right, I think that we've in the presentation that we have, I don't even think we have any conditions right now on this one. I think it was very clearly illustrated. You know, we had the appropriate photo. So we have a motion from, well, first of all, is there anything that we should have asked, but we didn't ask? Because either Linda or Valerie.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and we have a motion to approve the application.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve the BAR.
In a second.
Michael Aronson, second.
All right, and we do a roll call.
Michael Aronson. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Nina Aaron. Aye. Carla Elliott. Aye. Eric Talbot. Aye. Brenda Burback. Aye. Chair Wright.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next item on the agenda. This is another VAR, another new application, VAR 11/2023 at 309 Eagle Bay Drive. And this is a VAR approval for a enclosed existing enclosure on an existing deck. So we have a applicant here.
I know Janet is the. applicant.
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. All right, so if you, Ms. Schechter, would like to, we're gonna put the drawings up on our end, and then you could give us a synopsis of what it is that you're proposing. Give us a moment. as we-
Okay.
All right, we're good to go.
Okay, I don't see the drawings, but
We're working our way down there.
okay,
Getting there.
there we go.
Okay.
I have a deck. I'm in a condominium complex at Eagle Bay. And I have a deck in the back that's open. And what I'm looking to do is to enclose it and make it a 3-season area so that there'll be glass on the outside and 2 of the windows will have screens. And that way I can use it more often than I do.
Great, can we maybe just scroll down to that elevation more? Yeah. So can you just describe the condominium or management authorization? So this has already been reviewed by is this a condo or?
Yes, it's a condominium at Eagle Bay. And it first went through the Eagle Bay Board to get approval, and they gave approval. And then permits were given in, and then I submitted the forms necessary for whatever permits and the architectural plans. And then I was told that it needed to go through the architectural approval process.
Got it. And I do see that there was a management authorization letter that was included with your application, so.
Yes, yes.
It's all been already vetted. And so again, just for point of clarity, I'm trying to make sure we understand this correctly, but we're, you know, the stairs and the posts and the pillars, all of that is existing to remain. Really what you're adding is the glass and I guess a little bit of, there's a little
And
bit of-
insulation.
and insulation.
And
Yeah.
insulation and whatever else is on the plans. I'm not an architect, but they put everything into the plans. Yes, there's a sliding door. It will be relocated because now it's in the back of the condo and that door will be relocated to the back of the deck.
Okay, board members, questions?
Is there a roof being added over the deck?
There is a floor above me, so there is a deck above that deck. So there'll be insulation put in there, but that deck will remain.
So the closing in is of this.
So deck above is the.
Right. So, yeah, we'll assume, yeah, I mean, we have to assume from that drawing, because they're showing insulation in those joist bays, that's a waterproof, but that's, I think, you know, from the VA, again, from the narrow VAR perspective, we're not looking at this from a performative component perspective. So, I mean, were there any photographs submitted in the application or not?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm gonna double check, but I don't think we saw.
I think there were a couple of the outside from the architect took a couple of pictures, but
Yeah,
there you go.
Hold on. Whoop, I'm too fast.
That's from the back. Oh,
Super helpful. So we understand what we're looking at here.
well, that's, okay, wait, you had it. Go
Yeah.
down a little.
Get a sense of it, right? And there's between these two photos.
Okay, at the bottom, I'm at the bottom, not the top. But above me, you can see that there's another unit above me, but I am enclosing that back part.
I think
And-
this photo also shows that it's a pretty minimal intervention and it's also fairly visible even from its own property.
Yeah.
Very well shielded.
The deck above you belongs to a different owner.
Yes,
I see. And
Yeah.
we have materials in the plans, just, you know, like the windows.
Yeah, can we go back to sorry, making you go back and forth here, but. Maybe the detailed section. Does that show the new siding that it looks like there's a small area of siding that they're adding in. Are you relocating the existing doors or are these,
I'm relocated. There are sliding doors and two fixed panels that are facing the living area, the living room. And those panels will be relocated to the back of the deck.
They are the existing.
Let's do it on the others.
And so it'll just be open or you'll have new doors, just.
Excuse me?
Do you have a new doorway between the 3-season room and the rest of your apartment, your house?
There'll be new windows. I'm not sure I understand the question.
We just scroll to that plan, so we can kind of.
So if you're moving the existing doors that now go out to the deck, to the front of the deck,
Keep going up.
Right.
what are you replacing those with? Between your living room and.
It'll just be one big open space. It'll just extend the flooring.
Oh,
So it's not.
There's actually a plan,
Okay.
the plan of the space. Because I think there's one other thing we just need to clarify, which is related to siding, because it does look to me like they are, like there's the windows in the front, but there's a couple sides of this enclosure.
The side windows, yes.
If you can keep going up and zoom in, yeah, on those three, see those three diagrams up there? I think those are kind of a good narrative of what they're proposing here. Right. So that's, you can see where the existing porch was, you see where they're raising the floor, they're putting those side windows in, but they're also with that diagonal hatches is this standard wall construction. If I'm reading that correctly. If we can see the existing, sorry, I'm like side by side, if you can see those two drawings. Oh, so there's an existing outdoor. Yeah, I got it. So it's like there's like a closet or a shed, and that's going to be rebuilt.
Yes, that's a closet. That's like a tool shed. It'll be made into an indoor closet, so to speak.
All of those, what I was thinking was new siding is not, that's all existing.
That will be, there'll be new siding somewhere, but it'll match the existing.
All right, I think I understand this better. So it really is just glazing in the existing openings.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's enough for me. Any other questions from the board? Sorry, it took a second to get there, but we're there. Okay, so can I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Go ahead. Carla, do you make a motion to open for public hearing? Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections, motion carries. All right, is there anybody here from the public to speak to the application? Do not see anybody in this room. If you are would like to speak to this application and you are on Zoom, sorry, you can use the hand raise function. And I don't see anybody raising their hand. Can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Michael Aronson, motion to close the public hearing.
Bobby Belker, second the motion.
All right. Any objections? No objections, motion carries, public hearing is closed. Again, I'm just gonna ask real quick, either Linda or Valerie, is there anything that we didn't ask that we should have?
No,
Okay.
simple BAR.
Sounds good. We have a motion. And I guess just thinking back, I don't think we had any conditions here. This is straightforward. So can I have a motion to approve the application?
Do you make a motion to approve the application?
Brenda Burbach, second motion.
And roll call.
Michael Aronson. Aye. Robert Backer.
Aye.
Nina Aaron.
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Aye. Eric Talbot.
Aye.
Brenda Burback.
Aye.
Chair Roy.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ready, good luck. Okay, so we are now going to move forward with continuing business of the board. So I'm just gonna put my notes on the screen here. Okay, so the first new business is 214-236 South Highland. This is McDonald's, the drive-through which we talked about during our last meeting, and they're back here once more. I guess Valerie, can you just give us an update with where we stand, and then we'll bring the applicant.
Sure, so this particular application, there was a couple of minor site plan updates that both Anthony and I requested. The applicant did provide those. We also had to send out a GML referral, actually it was notification to the county. We did so. We got acknowledgement from the county just saying that they received everything. They weren't going to provide any responses, and we never got a response from Briarcliff. Other than that, this application is ready for, any final decisions from this board.
Okay, great. I guess we can, is the applicant here? They're not in the room.
I'm here on the,
All right, there you go.
Steve Wilson with Bowler on behalf of the applicant.
Very good. Okay, so I know if you want to give us just a quick summary of what you adjusted or changed, or if you have any, I guess if there are any other board sites, I don't know if there's really any level here.
Yeah, the project really hasn't changed much since submitted. I think it was just mentioned, we added some additional signage, stop sign, do not enter sign to the site plan for town engineer comments. But other than that, it's still just intended to overall improve drive-through efficiency as this restaurant probably has about 70% of its business from drive-through, so an efficient drive-through is really important to its business.
So we're just gonna put the site plan up here, in front of everybody so that we have it here as we finalize our conversation. So we really kind of worked our way through it last meeting. So I think that, are there any new board comments or thoughts here before we move to the public hearing?
Nothing to that.
Okay. All right, so can we have a motion to reopen the public hearing on this application?
Aaron, motion to reopen the public hearing.
Eric Talbot, I second the motion.
Any objections? No objections, the motion carries. So we'll start off. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? And I don't see any hands in the room. And we do have,
Nope.
we do not have, that is, I see, the same person. Gonna be two places at once. All right, so there are no new hands from the public. So so just to summarize before we close the public hearing, so we're just, we've looked at this as a it's just a site plan review. We're pretty straightforward here. We talked about it. So can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close for public hearing.
Brenda Rohrbach, second motion.
Any objections? No objections. The public hearing is closed. Okay, so we've been through this. I'm just gonna ask, staff one more time, anything that we haven't yet discussed or asked that we should have? Okay, but I think this is pretty straightforward. Are there any special conditions that we should be calling out as we look at this, just in terms of responses to the checklist that was provided either Tony by your office or Valerie?
All my conditions from that.
Okay, so we're fully there. So this seems pretty straightforward. Based on what we've seen, we have a motion from the board to approve the application.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve the site plan approval.
Michael Aronson, second.
And with a roll call.
Michael Aronson. Aye. Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Nina Aaron. Aye. Carla Elliott. Aye. Eric Talbot.
Aye.
Brenda Burback. Aye. Chair Roy.
Aye, motion carries. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is 196 North Highland. So I think what I'll do is ask Valerie to give us an update on any progress or where we've been with this application.
Right, there's no new submissions were received from the applicant regarding like new submissions for site plan. But the secret notices did go out. Jamie Kane assisted with that work. And Westchester County Planning Board did provide a response. So at the next meeting, if this board, we're still waiting for additional information before we can get to a part 2 on the EAF. But so once the second submission comes in from the applicant, and we have enough information in terms of wrapping up seeker, we'll bring that back to the board. If the board wants to, declare itself lead agency tonight, you can, but it's not. Is it 30 days? I think it has, yeah. We already received I think there's no, they don't need CBA.
Our last meeting was on the 25th.
Yeah, they don't need CBA for this.
There's no new purpose, no DOT.
So DOT, we did send out information to DOT. So we can wait another month just in case. So Linda's suggesting that maybe we wait to make sure we definitely have the 30 days set. Either way, they're definitely coming back next month. So it needs to be adjourned.
Right, so it sounds like nothing, that we don't have anything new. Our next
Yeah.
conversation on this will just be related to the part 2. Okay. Then can we have a motion to adjourn the application for tonight?
Eric Talbot make a motion to adjourn the application.
Nina Aaron, second.
Any objections? No objections, motion carries. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're now going to move on to 2 Church Street. So you can have the applicant come on up and note that. Okay, very good. So I guess, again, just kind of talking, just kind of by way of introduction, we've had a lot of conversation on this. I think at our last meeting, we kind of worked our way through the site plan, and I think we kind of got to the point where we were discussing the roofscapes. And some additional questions came up, mostly kind of in the VAR focus. So I think that's kind of where we are today, is to kind of see how the applicant has responded to those comments and questions that came up during our last meeting.
Good evening, Jerry Tortorella, Hockman, Tortorella, and Rexstein, and I don't know why everybody on my team wants to sit in the back. It's like we're in church. I want to introduce who we have with us this evening. I think we have a pretty focused list of things to discuss, but we did bring people with us in the hopes that we can answer whatever remaining questions that you may have. And you know Lindsay Farrell and Michelle Noe from Open Door. And we also have, we've met Rob Masters and John Reed from Canon. We have a new person here this evening. There's Steve Corletta. He's from The Chase, who's our construction manager. And he put together the logistics plan, which you had asked us to address. So he's here this evening to address that. And then we have two Langen people joining us remotely. Mike Tucker, you see there, and Meredith Juliana, who can both address any questions that related to Langen's plan. Meredith is a landscape architect, and we did submit a landscape plan for the board as well. Just very quickly, going over the issues that we had on our checklist from the last meeting. One had to do with whether or not the roof structures with rooftop equipment had any impact on our compliance with height. And I can dispatch that very quickly. I mean, they do not. Even if you measure from the lowest possible point to the top of the tallest piece of rooftop equipment or structure, we are still under the height limitation that's allowed in the district. So the height exceptions provision that came up at the last meeting would not be applicable, and we're fully conforming on the height issue itself. The second thing I just wanted to talk about, if we can, is the logistics plan. And if I can let Steve just take a couple of minutes and summarize for you the logistics plan that we submitted, just so that you know what our thinking is. We don't need to belabor it and spend a lot of time, but the board did ask us about it last time.
Yeah.
We can do that. Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Do you have it to share? Do you have it electronically, or I do have a handful of copies here.
Do you have any copies? Can I?
Yeah. Not enough for everybody. That's all. I'm sorry. I didn't know how
Yeah,
many
we can share.
would be here. I may have to step and get closer if I'm pointing at things that's a little far. But so what you see there, the blue highlighted area, that is the existing parking lot of Third Street. That will be the primary access point for the duration of the project. That's will be access for contractors coming in and out with materials for the renovation of the building, which is just in that hatched area just below that. So that will be the main point of access to the majority of the project. There are a couple areas down on the south end of the building where there is work going on that will be a little bit more of an impact to the public and surrounding areas. Going to scroll down just a little bit more, please. Perfect there. So on the bottom left, that's where the addition of the building is taking place. And during that part of the project, we will have some site fencing up to the existing sidewalk on Church Street and out to the Old Croton Aqueduct walkway. I have site fencing protecting the public from accessing the site that way. There will be periodic access going in and out of that fenced in area during the project. There will be some periodic encroachment into the Old Croton Aqueduct walkway. We will definitely work to limit that as much as possible. I do not foresee a need that we would be blocking or taking up the complete walkway. If it's in that picture view over to the right, the thought would be if and when needed, the fencing would move out to about that yellow bollard that splits the walkway right in half. So it might cut the access in half for a period of time. We're glad to coordinate with any town officials, whoever a point of contact would be, to say, when we would need that access and for how long. At this point in time, it's a little difficult to nail down. We foresee the entire construction of that addition and hardscape area, which is going to come out of there, to be about 8 months of the overall project duration. The overall project is about 14 months, the renovation and that addition.
So
So
that fence will be in place for 14 months?
that fence that you see
Yeah.
in red and that beautiful graphic there, that is about 8 months. Yeah,
And the parking lot would be used for construction staging that entire time as well?
that, yeah, and that would be for the entire 14-month
Okay.
duration as we renovate the inside of the building.
And that graphic shows your kind of right away going all the way out to the curb. That I can imagine that could be shifted so you're not using the handicap ramp.
Yes, yeah, the thought is for any rolling equipment would actually want to use that curb cut. If we had a truck unloading there and needed to roll something there, but certainly could go to the curved area and we could put something on the curb for access or just position the
Is
truck
that
appropriately.
tree coming out?
The tree right in front,
Yeah. looks
that
like the
tree
street.
stays, I believe.
That's just good mind.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the graphic does.
Yeah.
When you draw a
The-
fence,
the fence, well,
the actual fence will be
yeah.
on the other side.
I wondered with everything going in and out, if it was gonna be able to remain.
It might die, but
It might,
yeah,
yeah.
if there's a lot of, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of compaction. It's already in a little.
Yeah, the
Space,
work
so
is
you're not
pretty far
covering
away
a
from
lot.
that tree, actually. The picture doesn't do it justice. You know, that's up almost to the street. And then you have the sidewalk and then you'd be getting into the project site. So there shouldn't be need to impact that tree right there.
I have a question, and maybe this was brought up. Is the building gonna be occupied during the renovation?
It
No.
is not.
It's not, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
do you foresee, for instance, you showed deliveries coming off the parking space, do you foresee having to take up that parking space? For any length of time?
Yeah,
Because I would almost coordinate maybe with the DPW when you plan on doing that. You know, there might be an issue where you're not gonna have that space in the morning and you might have a delivery truck doing a couple laps.
circling around. Yeah, our thought is, you know, specifying delivery hours, as early in the morning as possible to try to probably be out of the way of the public, and that's, you know, we limit deliveries to those times and go use that spot for a short term, unload what you need to unload and get out of there.
And you don't foresee, excuse me, you're not using a crane, are you?
A crane,
Yeah, did you foresee crane usage or positioning of a crane?
so it will be a structural steel addition in that area. It'll be a very small crane lifting the structural members into place for the addition.
But you don't,
But it would be within the site.
it'll be within the
Yeah,
house.
sorry,
yeah,
to
not-
clarify that.
They're not gonna park it on the street, you'd be using a crane. on
No, that's where you're
the-
going
on
with
the
that,
street,
yeah. None of that, and then there will be some cranes lifting rooftop equipment onto the building. That would be from the blue area from the parking. So I don't foresee a need for a street position crane.
How are you getting the equipment, how are you getting the equipment on the other side of that fence? What's the access, this red line?
Yes, that was again from the parking spots
Uh-huh.
for some very limited access. Beginning of the day, moving equipment in and out, and then staying confined to the site fence during the day, and then at the end of the day, maybe if there's equipment that needs to unload.
Is that their plan for, I'm sure that's gonna be damaged, that sidewalk,
Yes.
it's gonna be damaged during the construction.
Yeah.
So there's a reconstruction plan.
We
for
would,
that.
yeah,
Well,
we can assess the existing condition, document that, yeah.
it's probably your responsibility anyway, right?
Yeah.
The
Well,
property owner's responsibility to do the sidewalk in front of their house. We have to do it.
I don't know about the sidewalk itself. but
Yeah, no, I don't, but what I'm envisioning happening, and I know we're getting into a lot of detail, and what I'm envisioning will happen is there'll be a pre-construction meeting with, with the stakeholders, and there'll be more of this fleshed out in the course of doing that, and we'll look at a pre-construction condition survey, and then we'll, be able to document what the baseline information is, and then we'll have a basis to figure out what needs to be restored, if anything, as a result of construction. So that's not explained all in this. I'm just trying to give you a general idea, but there's a lot more thought that will go into this as we get into the actual construction process.
Yeah, and similarly, we could require protection of the sidewalk as we load materials in and out the steel road plates, we've seen things like that.
Mhm.
So this is, I mean, safety is number one in our organization. I'll speak to that, and there will be a safety plan for within the site, and then that also would capture safety of all the pedestrians and public around the site to make sure.
Yeah, no, oh, sorry, you go ahead and then.
I was just gonna say, on that point, then I would assume you would also have, if pedestrians are having to cross the street in order to go around, that would be done in a way that keeps it safe, because right now there's stuff going on where you're just kind of vomited out into the traffic.
Unrelated.
Technical term.
Second, I'm gonna just drive that way.
Like,
Pretty accurate.
Yeah.
There is a lot of pedestrian activity there, and that's why the intent would be to have any crossing and material moving into the site on limited hours, first thing in the morning. And maybe just limited to first thing in the morning, because I know the afternoon and evening gets very busy there as well. And just stay confined, and then it would just be workers on foot coming out of the project from there on. So we can find the timing of when that would happen. If and when we did need to close the sidewalk and divert pedestrians to the other side of the street, we'd have to go, I think, north to the nearest crosswalk and make sure they're diverted safely and provide some signage and detour signage for pedestrians to get around.
Yeah, these are important questions, and this is a helpful diagram. I know one of the difficulties of the site plan related to the logistics is this, you built up all of your lots and to this public space here. So I think this is helpful. We do have a couple other things to talk about this evening on this topic, on this project. So I think it would be helpful maybe we can move on to the next set of consultants. Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Yep, that's fine. And I think what you were really interested in, and so why don't we turn to the VAR issue, and then we can go back to landscaping if you have any questions, sure that. But with the VAR issues, it was really, I think the visual impression of the rooftop equipment. So I can turn the floor over to John.
Yeah,
and to Rob.
thank you.
Hi, I'm John Reed with Canon Design. Address is 300 East 42nd Street, New York City. So we came back with some enclosure information for the mechanical equipment, and we have some drawings as well that will show you the massing of it, the scale of it. We used the same drawings we did previously. So again, these drawings are pretty much up in the air, looking down at it. You just saw the existing condition. Now you're seeing the new enclosure. There are two areas of enclosure. That's the most efficient sort of way to mechanically serve this medical space. The materials that we're using is a sort of a vertical enclosure. I'm sorry, I don't have a piece of it. So it is this, excuse me, it is this right here. And this is the color, which is, yes, please, is a shadow gray. We selected this color because when you look up at the sky, if it's white, it pops out. If it's black, it pops out. You pick a sort of a photo gray. It's like it's about 20% gray. And we found that that's the most efficient way to sort of hide the mechanical equipment. Again, this enclosure is bigger than the mechanical equipment. You need about 3'6" to service the machinery. So it's a little bit bigger than what we previously showed, but it's now completely enclosed with a closure system.
What's the height of it?
It's 10 feet above the finished floor of the finished roof height. We can go to the drawings. It's listed on the drawings if you want to see what it is.
And sorry, let's go there in a second, but let's just stay on that image. Because I think
Go back.
we're focusing.
To the top.
Sorry, man. You really can't do more than like three things at one time.
I need a few more.
So, yeah, I mean, we're looking at the one enclosure in the front, which will be more prominently situated, but we're also looking at, is it three other bulkheads?
Two. One in the front and one in the rear of the
Okay,
building.
so that's one, that's just the tree is breaking up the.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the white area in front is the elevator, and we kept that the same color as the stucco of the building, because if you look down at the base of it, it really is the lower level wall just extending up. The building has areas on the second floor that step forward of the ground floor, and so we're maintaining that ground floor's position and just running it up to make the elevator bulkhead.
So, all right, so actually that was maybe misunderstanding that. So if we look at that horizontal volume, of the original building.
Yeah, it's
So
step
that
forward.
bulkhead, that step forward, but the bulkhead, because in this image, it almost reads like it's flush with that.
It's not. It's
So,
good point.
yeah, no, point, feel free.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's totally
Oh, sorry,
okay. It's all right, it's all right.
So you can see, it's very difficult to see, but this second floor is turning the corner and going back. The fins that we have that are cladding the second story are blocking that edge. So it goes back about 3 feet. And that 3 foot layer
is co-planar with the base of the building, and that's the volume that rises up to form the elevator bulkhead. And that's why we kept it that lighter color.
Can we look at the orthographic
Sure.
elevation of this?
So that's the street elevation. Let's go to the one that's on
And
the.
you can see the offset there.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Shadowing.
Bulkhead is in line with the first floor and the second floor steps out and then the fins are proud of that.
So it's
Right.
gonna be 2 drawings down, I think, to get to the aqueduct elevation. One more. One more, 3 drawings down. So there it is. Now scroll, if you could, a little to the left. So there you can see the base of the elevator and how the second story is coming forward from that.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I think that's, there was something with the rendering that made it
Yeah.
look like it was sitting out in space, but, this is, I think, these images are super helpful. They're also showing the scale of the two, so those are scales, so that you have the data points there right now, because we were talking a moment ago about the heights.
Yes.
Of all of these, and you just, I think right now we're just looking at the heights from a massing and, you know, BAR perspective.
So the very, very top line is our maximum line. It's hard to see in this drawing, but that dashed line at the top. So we're significantly below that line with our, the elements in our roof.
And also,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that as Jerry had noted, that 48-foot maximum, we've taken that from the elevation of the aqueduct path. So it's actually quite below the first floor of the existing building, so that we could kind of demonstrate it from, given the slope of the site, we could kind of demonstrate that max height from the lowest possible point of measurement.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what is the other mechanical structure to the right in the building?
It's another set of mechanical,
It's there already.
no,
Okay.
it's a new one. Because it is a medical office building, the most efficient way to feed it happened to be from these 2 ends and move to the middle. We could have put a much bigger one in the middle, but it wasn't as efficient or as economical.
And it'll have the same cladding.
Exactly the same. Right. And we picked the vertical because we thought it went with the elevation. We thought it went.
We look, sorry, at the specific plan, again, just to see the step back and how these are situated.
The one more.
Especially yeah.
Sorry, it's on a little bit of a lag.
So there you go. So you can see the 2 areas of the mechanical enclosure. They're drawn with that double line. That's indicating some structure that's holding them up in the corners. You can see the elevator down at the bottom, plan left. Small access steering link and mechanical room for the elevator.
Or those stairs are not, I guess they wouldn't be visible because they'd be, the elevations that you've shown, they'd be concealed by 1 or 2 of the other.
Yes, they would be seen from street, certainly the street level as you're walking. You would
Right.
see them.
Setback. Okay. Board members, questions, I know we're kind of asking as we go, but is there anything else? Yeah, you know, we spent a lot of time on this. This was helpful. I think, you know, based on what we were looking at last week and this week, I think it's a lot clearer. I think there's probably been a little bit of thought and design on it to making sure that we understood this properly. So, especially with the closing closures. So I guess, you know, Tony or Valerie, I know that we've been through this. I just, from the site plan perspective, you've already asked your question. And we're in a good place there. Linda, is there anything that we haven't gone over? Okay.
The only thing is you had said about the landscape plan. I know that last time we had asked about that.
Yep, if we could pull that up, Meredith Juliana is on and she can summarize for you the elements of the landscape plan.
Yeah, hi, everyone. There's not an option to turn on a video. Otherwise, I would turn mine on and say hi to you, but you'll have to just listen to my voice, I guess.
Problem, thank you.
The last sheet.
Yeah, it's gonna be the last. There you go. So hard to move around on that page, huh? So the overall concept of this landscape plan is really, I mean, our overall goal here is to be in keeping with the surrounding area, right? So in the front, we have sort of two different ideas going on at one time. In the front, our objective is really to kind of keep some of the formality, the repetition that happens with the street trees and the existing lampposts that's already along the sidewalk there. This understory planting, we're keeping the large tree at the corner, and then we're proposing ornamental understory trees running along the front and kind of keeping them in that very formal order of in a row to kind of mimic the street trees that are already there, and then have an understory of ornamental grasses. So that's the sort of front elevation idea, the exposed view of the building, versus in the back area along the aqueduct trail. Our goal here is really to keep as much of the existing vegetation as possible. So that will be the main objective along the building face. And then as you get back towards the patio area in the back, we're proposing some additional planting to offset where we're changing these paths around and the connection between the aqueduct and the parking lot. But all of those plantings kind of lean towards the more informal understory woodland planting that exists in that area already. So those are much larger shrubs that will grow in and fill in that space really nicely in the way that the existing understory planting does too. And then all the planting that we're proposing is also all native species to provide some habitat and keep with a native planting palette. And I think those are the real goals here. We're really trying to get this to fit in with what exists and addressing that slightly differently in the two different areas, the two main areas that are being planted.
Thank you. Questions on the landscaping plan?
Yeah, apologies that I didn't pick up on this when I was looking at the plans earlier, but what are the trees that you're looking to plant on the street side?
So those are, sorry, they are Amelanchier. So blinking on what the English name of them is. How do I remember what the Latin name is? They're service berries. Sorry, there we go. Thank you. Service berries. So they're an understory flowering tree. So they have a white flower in the springtime.
Right.
All right. Any other questions on this? All right. Okay, so we did open a public hearing in our prior meetings. So I think at this point, it would be appropriate to, the motion to reopen the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, motion to reopen the public hearing.
Any objections? No objections, the motion carries. We're now in a public hearing. We'll ask if there's anybody here from the public to speak to this application in the room. I do not see any hands in the room. Do the hand up and you do the step back. All right. So bring that in.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? So
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks. This all works. So I have one comment from the public, which is that I'm all for.
Sorry, before you start, just introduce your name.
Oh, my name is Tess Belmont. I'm a resident of Austining here. And this is my first town meeting or village meeting, and I'm happy to be here. My comments on this proposal are really that I support Open Door, and I think this is all great, but the architecture and the design of it really seems to match more the potential development of the city rather than the historical character that currently exists. And I fear that by kind of swallowing up the aqueduct trail, by bleeding into it, it just kind of, you lose that definition and that character that we really cherish that makes this a really unique small town along the Hudson. If it's not too late, or if it's possible to request something that is just a little bit more aesthetically charming and a little bit more old world, if you will, like that matches the architecture, which grants are being given out to local businesses to kind of restore the historical character of that main street. So with this kind of facade, I think that kind of goes against that whole idea and the direction of that. That is my comment.
Thank you, Tess.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on, guys.
The applicant wants to respond to that comment. You know, I'll put my 2 cents in here right now. I think, you know, it kind of speaks to our role as a board, as a BAR, as a BAR board. And right now, you know, we're looking at similarity, just, you know, over similarity, over dissimilarity, and trying to kind of see how each project fits in with the neighborhood in terms of that. I think, you know, we're specifically not a style police, but, you know, we should look for appropriateness. I do feel that in this particular application, we're looking at a historic mid-century building, which is, you know, not like the 19th century buildings along Main Street, you know, but it has a character in its way. And I think, you know, one of the nice things that from my perspective on this, you know, we're a board and you know, a lot of other thoughts. I think we just talked about this a little bit last meeting. You know, so what this particular intervention, I think is quite nice in terms of accentuating what's nice about the existing building and kind of resolving some of the problem.
I agree. It's a nice facelift to what's existing without totally changing it to 360. Nice.
Softens up the building a bit too, and brings more texture to it.
Yeah, I believe this building is enhanced with the improvements. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's valuable here. Look, I mean, not everybody's gonna love every project that's built in the village, and you know, for legitimate reasons. But it's part of why we're here and why we're talking about these things. Okay, I don't see any other hands from the public. I think at this point we can we have a motion to close the public hearing on this application.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to close public hearing.
Nina Aaron, second motion.
Any objections? No objections. The motion carries. Public hearing is closed. So I think, you know, in summary, we've I think been through the site plan. We've had an opportunity tonight to look at the construction logistics, which was an issue throughout, you know, the uniqueness of the site. We've had an opportunity to look at the landscaping plan, and kind of how this project will integrate in that respect into the site. We've had several conversations over the last several meetings about the site plan in general. And I think today we were able to kind of get into some of the BAR questions, you know, that came up certainly in the last meeting, and I think have a better sense in understanding of what the proposal is and how it will fit. So, you know, as far as conditions on any, like, we'll start with site plan. Are there conditions that we're going to have to consider as we finalize our evaluation here?
In terms of the resolution, the recommendation would be to anything that's outstanding with Keller Sessions memo. They addressed all our concerns, and that the applicant obtains all approvals and permits that are required from the Office of Parks Historic Preservation prior to the issuance of the building permit.
Including, I believe there's supposed to be an agreement between the applicant, the village, and state parks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that that's in motion.
Correct.
Right, but I think we're still discussing the terms of that, as my understanding.
Okay, so, but that will just need to be finalized and executed prior to the issuance of the building permit.
Just point of clarification, is the building department able to advance the review of the construction drawing while we work on these conditions?
Well, I mean, I know the building department will look to make sure that the site plans meet the approved plans. So theoretically, I mean, they could, and then, but if for some reason something needs to change in the site plan, you know, then we'll have to either modify those, and then those would have to get then adjusted to the building permit that gets submitted.
All right, because I'm just trying to think of the most efficient way for us to be able to proceed, because we do have to go to the Office of Parks and deal with whatever permitting requirements are there for the construction, you know, the temporary construction conditions. And I just was hoping that, and I don't know if this board ever communicates with the building department to that extent, but if the building department might be willing to try to
work with us in reviewing the construction plan simultaneously with us trying to work on satisfying the conditions. The longest lead time, what I'm envisioning would be possibly, the work with the park department.
Right, so we have a resolution that's pretty much 95% drafted, and I was just waiting for final conditions. So once that resolution gets signed, then you can move forward with pulling the building permit. And since the site plans themselves are pretty complete, and there's, doesn't seem to be many conditions associated with that. But ultimately, it's the site plans that the building department will look at the final site plan. So if there are any conditions that need to be updated on the site plans prior to like the chair signing them, those need to be done first, and then you can begin that.
Got it. And then simultaneously work with dealing with the paperwork, so to speak, with state. Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right.
I don't know if you have any conditions before site plan approval.
The only thing I remember offhand is a lot of logistics stuff.
Right.
The agreements.
I think we can work those as a general, condition, that, any outstanding,
Right.
requirements from the Kelly section that was our address.
But the State Department agreement and the agreement with the village can be conditions of building permit.
That's correct, right, those are conditions of
Correct,
building permit, right,
not signing the site plan.
Right, thank you.
Generally, the conditions that are prior to the signing of the site plan are only things that require revisions to the site plan itself. So that the site plan that gets signed incorporates all those
right,
revisions.
and most likely the resolution will refer to the Keller session memo as needing to be
Understood.
finalized for that.
Okay, with that aside and clear, I think what we've been doing recently is we can have a motion for a single resolution to approve both the BAR components and the site plan components. And let's make sure we're not missing anything else that's in here. Conditional, no, that's not right. The site plan and did we address the parking waiver?
You did a couple meetings ago.
Okay.
The applicant provided all the information, so
Okay.
and you would vote on that. as
So that's
well,
right, but
So
that-
that's also part of your approval.
That's part of our, that's why I'm just wanting to make sure that we're listing everything out here correctly, and I wasn't sure if that was something we'd taken a separate vote on. I just couldn't recall. But I know we did have that conversation, and we looked at at this application in that context.
And they also received the necessary variances.
Correct. Okay. Anything else, or is that? We've got parking
No, so it's
waiver,
approval of the parking waiver, the site plan and the BAR.
with the conditions as we just described them, and we have a motion for approval of the application.
Michael Aronson, motion to approve the BAR and site plan with conditions
And parking waiver.
And the parking waiver.
Okay, and a second. All right, and we will do a roll call.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Nina Aaron.
Aye.
Carla Elliott.
Aye.
Eric Talon.
Aye.
Brenda Burback. Aye. Chair Roy.
Aye, motion carries, 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Take care. Have a nice holiday weekend.
Yeah. All right. Okay, yes, we do have a recusal on this application. So we're going to 14 Church Street. The planning board. Yeah, no, you're on my way.
I have to leave, so I won't.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. So, all right, and so just for the record, then we are right now, so we're losing Brenda, who has to leave, and Carla is accused. We're going on. I'm really out of order here, I apologize. 14 Church Street, this is a, okay, so site plan, additional use, VAR, and there's a parking waiver request, and this is a third floor addition. So, I know we've received some new, documents since our last meeting. JB, you want to walk us through the changes that have been made and have our conversation?
Yes, so we're still waiting to go to the AEC. But we have submitted an argument for the parking waiver, and we have done some more work like we have asked in the architectural, the components.
Sorry, which document? was that?
Yeah, maybe put up the, probably put up the elevations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any, and sorry, before we get into this procedurally tonight, is there anything that we need to do regarding secra?
So I did provide you part two
Yeah.
in your packets. You know, based on the information that has been submitted. You know, I noted that everything was either no or small impacts may occur. I did provide the board a little bit of a part three determination of significance for your consideration, that basically that that the impacts would be minimal. And based upon review of the local law, comments made by the board's professionals, and comments made in public, as well as the information that was been provided, that we don't see that the proposed action would result in any significant adverse environmental impact. So if the board wants to consider that and then consider potentially adopting a negative declaration, you could do so this evening. In terms of actual voting on this application, they still need EAC referral, which they are on the EAC agenda for June. So by your June meeting, you should be able to, if the applicant, you know, if everything else is satisfactory to this board, would be able to move forward with it.
Okay, helpful, thank you. All right, so JB, you walk us through the changes.
A3, if you can go through A3. So what we did now is moving forward, we took into account the adjacent buildings, A3.
Sorry, it's going a little slow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not her.
Make you all wait.
Need some music.
I'll sing for you.
So that's what we kind of taken the adjacent building and taken some of the buildings down the street. And having it, taken into account also the construction budget of the building and the financial implication. We are doing now, what we're doing is a stucco second floor, and we're doing some trim work that matches or goes more with the building down the street. If you do the next one, A4, A5. A5 that has the accommodation showing with the adjacent building. So I was hoping to get some input from the board.
Yeah, I think it's a big improvement from what you submitted last time. I like the changes and everything.
Why doesn't the corner stand, why is it have a lot of things broken in?
Well, two is one architecture. Second is the location of the corners. When it's okay to go on front, but then they kind of right in the line. And it would be a sharp. We were trying to return the corners and the front of the building, and we, architecturally, so there was a better finish to have a return.
I'm with Michael. I think it looks odd that it doesn't go further out.
Is that a lot line?
Yeah,
Where is the lot line relative to that?
the left
wall?
line is the point, I think it's 0.3 or 0.4. So we can try to bring that and return it, make it a smaller corner when it returns.
Right.
Was the concern that it was going to encroach on the
Yeah.
properties?
Who's gonna go over the property line?
Well, it seems like it could still go to the edge of the.
Right, we can
the
still,
building without-
if that's
without-
something that we can still explore. One of the,
Because I would agree with the other one that was from that as well. That's a little bit.
Can you describe the relationship of that? It'll focus for a moment on the street facade, this the stuff over the brick, is that is that projected out? Is there a shadow line? I was trying to understand how that's.
The,
So when you transition from the stucco to the brick, is that volume cantilevered out past the brick facade? There, there's a dark shadow in this image.
yeah, it is, cantilever, but, very small.
And how are you transitioning the materially? How are you? It seems very abrupt.
The transition of,
The brick to the stucco, what's the transition point?
well, right now there is like a band of what, when it paint the band.
What's that material? Is that a coping or
Yeah,
what is it?
is, right now we have selected as the metal pulp and we haven't finalized that.
Right, because you're not gonna build up on top of that with coping. You're gonna take that coping off and you're gonna build something there. You're gonna have, that transition has to be, you have to terminate the stucco at the base. You're gonna have to,
Right,
cap, have some sort of cap and flashing detail between the two structures. So it's, all of that's gonna read out on the facade and, from this image, I really don't understand what that looks like.
okay.
Looks like you kind of just like place this down on top. The brick. I also, so I think that we need some resolution there, and maybe part of that is looking at the brick and putting, there has to be a more intentional transition there. It's right now, it's just. Ridiculous.
Well, I'd like to sort of refer to the comments from the previous public hearing, the person who spoke. I mean, I still feel like this design is so flat. And if you even just look at the adjacent building and you see the details on the roof line there, and there's no relationship between those two properties as far as I can see from this rendering. Are those the existing windows below? Is that what they look like now? Because that's, okay. It's an improvement from last time, but it still seems to be lacking character for me and a relationship with Main Street.
I disagree with my entire, but also I don't think that we should, those details on the existing building, there are for, an hour and an effort that, require those, and I think should copy those.
No, I'm not suggesting that you mimic them. I'm just suggesting that the building have a little bit more relationship to downtown Main Street in the sort of, as the previous, the public hearing in terms of some of the character of Main Street and,
Well, we try to bring the details of the windows, the window pattern. We
Can we do different size windows? like
Yeah, the
different
windows-
shape, different size, maybe? So this is 24 by 36 window, is part of that.
No, they're not 24 by 36.
24 by 40.
35 by 54.
Okay.
And the balconies on the side elevation, are those, it seems like it's one continuous line, there's no separation between the, I mean, are people actually able to go out of their apartment onto those balconies, or are they more like to put a flower pot on?
No, they're able to.
Okay, so there's no separation between units in terms of access, and it's just sort of one long.
You're not gonna put
Yeah.
any kind of like wooden.
We can-
There is, I think
I
it's.
think there is one out there.
Okay, it's hard to, oh, I
Yeah,
see.
there.
Yeah, and what would that be? Is it wood? Is it?
We probably will, we haven't decided what material, we probably would be something like with the railing.
A metal?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to dig into what you're saying. So I think, the points that were made last week about relating to, and I think JB, you just said this yourself, about relating to what's next door. And we can kind of go to that front elevation, which I think said something. It's not about historicism, right? It's not about trying to take, a architectural element from a period in the past because you're next to an old building and make it look old, right? I think it's about, I mean, that image is I think super helpful for me because you see, this kind of beautiful terracotta wall. And you see this brick wall, which is what it was from its time. And you see a stucco wall. You have these three things that like none of them have anything to do with the other. And And I really worry how this will read. And whether that means there has to be some sort of a setback and whether, you're talking about, larger windows and glass and scale of the windows, the rhythm of the windows could match something that's going on.
What's that large door and that the windows, like partial windows? maybe? Cost is an issue, right? It's a constraint.
When you look at the downtown, and you look at the buildings, I think that, there's a rhythm, there's a window size, there's a pattern. There was we will explore. I agree with the 3 different materials. Maybe there is a way that they complement each other. Doing brick all throughout probably would have been a solution, but may not be something that is viable for this project. So
And those grates in the front are for AC units, was that?
yes, those are, there is a interesting sign that they say, because there's a mechanical movement between. Yeah, so that's those are like movement. Fresh air.
So it's fresh air, that's not even, that's just a
Yeah.
air exchange.
Yeah.
For the condenser.
Yes,
That unit is on top of the existing building?
yes,
And then you will build on top of that?
yes.
Like a 2-foot cavity or something?
It is not a typical cavity, it's like 4.5 or 5 feet cavity.
Okay.
That's huge.
I'd like to make a comment. I think I don't know if I was here for the first meeting where you presented this and that public hearing. And I do think that some elements of the side elevation look up, and when I look at that front head on, and when I look at buildings and I'm thinking about you're going to, add onto a building, and create an addition. And contextuality with the surrounding buildings is important, but I also really just kind of drill down on the contextuality of the existing building. It's like, how does that addition relate to what's already there? And how can you enhance elements or the best elements of the existing building and carry those forward into the new addition so that it feels like it was a singular idea. And I mean, I think that's really challenging, especially with material costs. But the first thing my eyes draw to was those rates, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I know that what it's for, I know it's taking air, but it just seems like I understand what people do in the apartment buildings. They put those in because by sticking there, these are multifamily apartment buildings that are that were built. They didn't have ACs, and they put in the thing below so that people can put in the AC, so not everyone's got that sticking out the window. Those make sense, but this feels kind of like misplaced, or just not like maybe carefully thought out.
Or maybe that's very well said. I think that's exactly right. I mean, and obviously looking at that one element, I mean, that those louvers could become a major design element of the building, where that's a continuous band, something that helps to speak
Thinking that
between
I
the-
would extend the break almost trying to work something out that there is a merging of the two materials.
Yeah, I think that there could be something in there. And sorry, and just the other part of this is just again, looking at the building next door, because right now, this may just be the rendering, it almost looks like you're sticking out in front, like chopping off the corner of that building. Can we just look at the existing site photos of this as well? I know they're in there somewhere.
Same drawing.
They're in the plans.
The floors.
Oh.
Right, yeah, actually, so yeah, that first photo there, I guess, is that just a brick? Is that just so that there's a little bit of terracotta, whatever, like an 18 return. I mean, allowing that, somehow allowing some of that to still read, setting something back. Yeah, it's just kind of acknowledging that this thing was there and not just kind of pasting this stucco wall right up against and beside it. And I think Eric's very eloquent point about, making it has to relate to what's already there as well. I don't know. I think we still need to see a little bit more work on this.
Can we see the side elevation again with the balconies, please? No, that one or no? Yeah, more, something like, yeah. Is there a view actually like from? Yeah, so. So again, I'm confused. What's the material of the existing?
It's brick, it's painted brick.
It's painted that color or?
Yeah, it's the yellow, should be go back to that.
Okay, I was looking at that the other day and I drove by quickly and I just assumed it was stuck up. It's a beige color, right?
Yeah,
It's a lot of beige.
So that black line is the existing coping of that brick wall. So. Yeah, I mean, it is the same. I mean, this is, some respects, this is almost more like, this is gonna be more prominent than
Yeah.
that narrow facade on Church. This is overlooking the parking lot of the project that we looked at earlier today.
And I know we talked about that overhang before, but I can't remember if maybe it's just the scale of the drawing. It's not that dramatic, or is it that dramatic?
it is at an angle, so it is, we will show the rear wall as well.
So it tapers, right?
Yeah,
It's like a
basically.
triangular shape and plan.
So what you see is the worst case, is up front.
But that larger overhang is on the parking lot side, or is it on the?
It's on the
like,
rear.
Route 9 side? We look at the plan?
Yes, and the rear of the building. There's,
I know it's the rear of the building, but it's not,
you say the parking,
I mean, the parking lot for 14 Church. Or for 2 Church.
well, right now there is like, if you look at the picture, there's
It does, it gets wider as you on the western
Yeah.
end of it.
and there is a gate right now or some sort of access.
But it diminishes slightly, but it doesn't diminish. It gets a little narrower, but not. It's still a pretty substantive overhang. It's 5.75 feet at its longest.
This kind of goes along with our, I think last comment is actually showing the proposed building on the side plan, so you kind of see, like, it's hard to relate where the balconies are protruding.
Right.
You have the awning in the front protruding, I forget the term you use along the top, I just gotta make sure that doesn't go on, on the neighboring properties.
Right, like a dotted line profile of
Something,
what's
yeah.
being added.
It's hard, like,
Color diagram.
balconies that come out even a little further, just to know the extent of the outer of the whole building. It'd be helpful.
I think it would also be helpful for the board to understand how wide those balconies are.
Yeah.
I just would like to see it's such a huge wall. I'd like to see something that breaks it up, whether it's or a darker color and a little more detail between the different stories. I'm not sure what it is, but it just, I mean, if you're coming up the hill, that's what you're gonna see. Well,
Yeah.
first you'll see 2 Church, then you'll see this and, is it though? But yes.
Yeah, no, I think these are all, important. And they're related, right? I mean, just like that, the mass of that facade is the same as we were talking about with the mass on the street, where it's like you have these like 2 totally different things, and then you turn around the corner and you've got this big thing that's all one. It's a large wall, how are you gonna break that up, right? And maybe there's an opportunity to break it up vertically, where you use a couple different materials to make it look like some smaller buildings. Maybe it is emphasizing that horizontal. I don't know what the answer is, but it's gotta be, visually broken up to the point where it's not this giant wall, that's just reflecting light down on, imagine sunsets, if things, reflect right down onto the parking lot below and create a glaring view. And then, and then on that street facade, the idea of taking an element like the brick and bringing it out, like you suggested, I think there may be something in there, something investigating. Looking at the windows on both of these and relating, the windows that are there, they're there, right? You're matching to those masonry openings. Is there, and while they may not be the most beautiful windows in the world, there a way to take something about them, or some dimension of them, something in there and carrying that upstairs? So there's a way of speaking to each other. And then letting the building next door to it exist without just kind of cramping it out. So. I think that's, you feel like you have enough feedback now to come back to us with.
Yeah.
Okay. And we do recognize that your client's working under a budget and that, you can't, but we think that there's more that you can do. Now I know that there was the secret determination. I personally would feel more comfortable just waiting just giving everybody a little more time to review that type 2, and then we can come back with that. I don't think there's nothing else riding. There's no like zoning or other determinations that require us to have that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can do the neg deck at our next meeting with
Yes.
any penalty to the, okay, then that's important.
So that it will delay us.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It won't delay you. I think that I feel more comfortable taking a little bit more time to review that more carefully.
What about the parking waiver? We had to take action on that.
Same as we would with others, we're really looking at all of those, the neg deck is a different type of approval because it's required to be made before we can do anything else. But the parking waiver is something we typically look at as part of this site plan and final approval of everything.
So you can do the same in one meeting, if the neg deck and approve it?
Yes.
Sorry, did you see that? Okay. You sure? No, you don't want to talk? Okay. Okay, so we are in a public hearing. Let's just, we motion to reopen the public hearing on this.
Probably Doug can make a motion to reopen public hearing.
Nana Aaron, second.
Any objections? Objections are in public hearing. There's nobody in the room here right now, so there's nobody here to speak. Is there anybody on Zoom? I don't see, there are 2 attendees. No hands are up. Use the hand raise function. I don't see that happening. All right, can we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Michael Aronson, motion to adjourn.
Probably Doug for a second.
Any objections? No objections. The public hearing is adjourned. And can we have a motion to adjourn the agenda item for this evening?
Nana Aaron, motion to adjourn.
Eric Talbot, second motion.
Any objections? No objections. The motion carries. The item is adjourned. All right. So we're going to move then to item B, I think, on our agenda. This is 19 Camp Woods. So on this one, I think Valerie, well, okay, so we can kind of bring up the plans. We just, can you give us just kind of a high level where we are right now with this review? I know there's a whole lot moving here. I was gonna ask Valerie just to give us that.
Oh, yeah, so just, again, in terms of seeker, I did provide you a part 2 and a part 3, similar to the last application, in terms of a significant adverse environmental impact. We don't anticipate one, so if the board wants to adopt or consider adopting the neg deck, you can do so. In terms of the county, they did provide comments last meeting, but we are recommending that maybe the applicant provide a response to the county's comments. And then in terms of the ZBA, they do need to still receive variances from the ZBA, and this application was referred to them, so we're still waiting on that.
Is the ZBA able to have a vote on this? Because this is a unlisted.
No, they have not.
Right, and that, okay, they haven't applied, but at this point, the ZBA will not hold a vote on this application until there is negative.
That's correct.
But there is no ZBA application out there right now, so again,
Yeah,
they won't be on the agenda for the next
Yeah.
ZBA meeting.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm sorry, there are several variances, right? Side yard and some other variances.
Yeah, so I have building height variance, impervious coverage variance, parking lot, like the setbacks from the parking lot. And also, potentially, I think parking, they're asking for the planning board for a reduction, so that's.
Then that's a shared parking reduction. It's
Right.
not a waiver.
That was the kind of the different times of the day, different uses.
Yes, correct.
Kind of have one defer to the other.
Right. In Valerie's memo, she gave you the language.
Yeah. Okay,
And
So-
then just the last thing, that they still, I think they still both owe Anthony and I responses to our.
And I got to do plan review and then we have the new comments.
Yeah. And we're still waiting, we are getting an updated survey to kind of delineate and show all the easements. There's more of an easement of the property that benefits our clients, so. We're going to be showing those as well.
okay. So it sounds like we really need some additional documentation before we can have a substantive
Yeah.
review of these items. I think, as Valerie noted, I think the one area where we may be able to act, though I think it would be helpful to have at least one more response, for my comfort level in terms of voting on the night deck is just to have that additional information. And again, just give the board members, a little bit more time to make sure we've thoroughly reviewed the part two and can respond and vote on that. So I think with that, yeah,
I know we are, some of the information we provided was, should we keep responding to comments and, we're gonna submit a more complete package. But for NAGDAC, what is missing right now that you can make a decision?
that's just making sure that everybody on the board who's voting on it has time to read through the large document, to make it at the level. These things, so that's,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm.
Yeah, no, I don't foresee any, I can't speak, that this is it's nothing other than just making sure we have proper level, and there's really, again, I think if it was more urgent, based on the time frame of this project, it would be a little bit different. All right, so are there any other, the substantive issues will be dealt with between you guys. And then we'll get an updated memo before we have a next meeting, then we can have that conversation. And we have a motion to open the public hearing on site.
Michael Aronson, motion to open public hearing.
Sorry, Doctor, a second.
Any objections? Objections are in public hearing. There is nobody in the room to speak. Are any of the attendees who are present here to speak to this application? If you are, you can use the hand raise function. And I do not see anybody raising their hands, so we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
That's how it, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, any objections? No objections. The public hearing is adjourned. So I think that you understand what you need to get back at, and I think we're kind of getting to that point where hopefully we can get all of those responses. Then we can see back to the next meeting, and hopefully we can try to kind of finalize the conversations. And what was obviously dependent on the feedback that we get from the professionals and our deliberations on those documents. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn this item.
Eric's helping me make a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, Doctor, a second motion.
Any objections? No objections. Motion carries. The item is adjourned. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for your tonight. So I think the last item on the agenda is the Riverwalk Snowden project. So Valerie, can you give us an update on where that's project
Sure,
is?
they'll be before the ZBA in June. And the notice of intent to be lead agency was completed and was sent out to all the involved and interested agencies. Jamie assisted with that. And no new submissions were received by the applicant, but the applicant did follow up to see if he needs to appear before tonight's board, and we said, no, it's just going to be adjourned, and that once they complete their work at the ZBA, then they would come back.
Sounds good.
And I know we'll have to deal with the seeker stuff, but at some point we'll coordinate in terms of when they'll come back and if they have additional information for seeker before the ZBA.
Right, so the ZBA won't be able to act, but they
Right.
can sort of do an initial.
So once we hear
You're
back
right.
from them with the additional requested information, then we can kind of get to the point where we can draft a type 2 and kind of review that as a board, deliberate, and determine if it's a negative declaration.
Right.
That
would be the next step for you when you get additional information back from the applicant.
Right,
Right.
and I'll just say this in terms of seeker, right? So if for some reason this board really felt that it was gonna need to have a positive declaration, it might be worth having that discussion sooner than later. You know, we did, you know, we did kind of went through like part two that, you received, so. But it seems like at this point, as long as they continue moving forward with providing you the environmental reviews that you're looking for and the environmental studies, that this board seems to be okay with progressing in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, we had a kind of a public run through,
Right.
to some time ago, to earlier during the application process, but that is what generated this request for additional information, which is, I
Right.
think, where we still are.
Right, you did that preliminary review of the part two to identify what additional information you needed.
Right, and then we provided you an updated part two last meeting, and then we recirculated the notice of intent.
Right.
So it's just at times if this board is considering doing a pond stack and requiring an EIS, sometimes it's better to let the applicant know sooner than later.
Right.
But it seems like at this point, you're comfortable with the track you're taking, am I correct?
I mean, we've had the last, yes, we've reviewed updated the part two, and we've had those conversations, but I'll let other board members speak if they have any different feelings on that.
Yeah, feel more comfortable with that.
Okay, all right. That was it.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adjourn, this Odin project?
Thought about to make that motion to adjourn.
Yeah, just, yeah.
For site plan, be specific.
I thought you were.
Yeah, it's not very.
I second the motion. Any objection? No objection. The item is adjourned. Okay, so, I think we're good. Are there any other items of business that we need to review? We're good with everything. I think this was good. I think we were able to move the projects around, so, and I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
How did you make a adjourn tonight? Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? Or objections? Carries. Thank you guys very much.
Sure, thank you.
It's too late.